On a chilly winter evening, the bustling O'Hare International Airport in Chicago was alive with activity. People hurried through terminals, dragging suitcases behind them, while others sat patiently waiting for their flights. Among the crowd stood Maya Johnson, a confident and hard-working marketing executive who had earned her stripes through years of dedication and perseverance. For Maya, this trip wasn't just another business flight. It was her first vacation in over 2 years. After months of relentless deadlines, late-night meetings, and endless emails, she finally decided to reward herself with a much-needed getaway to Los Angeles. Maya adjusted the strap of her designer handbag as she glanced at her boarding pass, one last time. She smiled faintly, feeling a sense of satisfaction wash over her. She had worked so hard to get where she was today, and now, even something as simple as traveling felt like a victory. As she made her way toward Gate 27, she noticed an airline representative waving her over. Curious, Maya approached the counter, wondering if there had been some kind of mix-up with her reservation. "Ms. Johnson?" the representative asked, politely, checking her name against a clipboard. "We have some good news for you. Due to a last-minute cancellation, we've upgraded your seat to business class. Congratulations." Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. Business class? Her heart skipped a beat as she processed the information. Normally, she flew economy, squeezing into cramped seats alongside dozens of other passengers. But tonight, things were different. Tonight, she would experience the luxury of spacious seating, gourmet meals, and personalized service. Grateful tears welled up in her eyes as she accepted the new boarding pass. It felt like fate, a small but meaningful acknowledgement of all her hard work. As Maya boarded the plane, she couldn't help but marvel at the opulence of the business class cabin. Plush leather seats stretched out before her, each equipped with its own entertainment system and ample legroom. She found her assigned seat near the front of the cabin and settled in, savoring the softness of the cushion beneath her. A flight attendant greeted her warmly, offering her a glass of champagne to celebrate the upgrade. Maya accepted it graciously, raising the flute in a silent toast to herself. The hum of conversation filled the cabin as more passengers began boarding. Maya leaned back in her seat, scrolling through unread emails on her phone to pass the time. Occasionally, she glanced out the window, watching as ground crew members prepared the aircraft for departure. Everything seemed perfect until her gaze landed on someone familiar, sitting just a few rows ahead of her. It was Vin Diesel. Maya blinked, twice thinking she might be imagining things. But no, it really was him. The action star known for his roles in blockbuster franchises like Fast and Furious. He sat casually in his seat, scrolling through his phone, seemingly unaware of the curious glances cast his way by fellow passengers. Maya couldn't believe her luck. Not only had she scored a VIP seat, but she was also sharing the same cabin as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. She resisted the urge to take a selfie or approach him, knowing that celebrities often valued their privacy during flights. For the next few minutes, Maya allowed herself to daydream about what it must be like to live Vin Diesel's life. Traveling. The world. Working on exciting projects and inspiring millions of fans. Yet, as the plane finished boarding, and the engines roared to life, she reminded herself to stay grounded. This was her moment, a well-deserved break after years of grinding, and nothing could spoil it. Little did she know, however, that the tranquility of her upgraded seat was about to be disrupted in ways she never imagined. As the plane taxied down the runway and lifted off into the night sky, Maya took a deep breath, relishing the freedom of being airborne. She had no idea that within the next hour, her journey would take an unexpected turn, one that would test her patience, resilience, and strength. And somewhere in the midst of it all, Vin Diesel would play a role far greater than either of them anticipated. The plane soared smoothly through the night sky, its engines humming softly as it cruised at 35,000 feet. Inside the cabin, passengers were settling into their routines. Some leaned back in their seats, closing their eyes for a quick nap, while others flipped through magazines or watched movies on their screens. Maya, still basking in the glow of her unexpected business class upgrade, scrolled through work emails on her phone. Occasionally, she glanced out the window, marveling at the endless expanse of clouds illuminated by the moonlight. Everything seemed peaceful until a shadow fell across her seat. Startled, Maya looked up to see a flight attendant standing beside her, accompanied by a tall white man wearing designer sunglasses and holding a leather briefcase. His presence immediately felt imposing, though Maya couldn't quite put her finger on why. The flight attendant offered a polite but apologetic smile as she addressed Maya. "Ms. Johnson," the attendant began hesitantly. "I'm sorry to bother you, but we've encountered a bit of a situation. This gentleman has requested your seat because he prefers more space near the aisle." Maya froze, her fingers hovering over her phone screen. She stared at the flight attendant, trying to process what she had just heard. Her mind raced with questions. Why is this happening? Is this even allowed? Before she could respond, the man stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. "I'm sure you understand, it's nothing personal," he said, flashing what might have been intended as a reassuring smile. But to Maya, it came off as condescending. Nothing personal? How could this not be personal? It was her seat, a seat she hadn't even chosen but had been awarded as a gesture of appreciation. And now here was a stranger asking her to give it up simply because he wanted it. Her chest tightened as anger bubbled beneath the surface. She opened her mouth to protest, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she glanced around the cabin, hoping someone else would intervene. Most passengers seemed oblivious, absorbed in their own worlds. A few nearby travelers glanced curiously at the unfolding scene, but no one spoke up. For a moment, Maya felt isolated, as if the weight of the situation rested entirely on her shoulders. Before she could gather her thoughts, another voice cut through the tension. Deep, commanding, and unmistakably familiar, it drew everyone's attention. "What exactly is going on here?" Vin Diesel asked, his towering frame emerging from his seat just a few rows ahead. He strode toward the group, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. The flight attendant flinched slightly, clearly unprepared for the Hollywood star's sudden involvement. The man who had requested Maya's seat shifted uncomfortably under Vin's intense gaze, his earlier confidence wavering. Vin locked eyes with the man, his tone firm but composed. "Are you saying you want to take this woman's seat?" Man stammered, clearly caught off guard. "Well, yes, I prefer an aisle seat, and since there's availability..." Vin interrupted him before he could finish. "Availability doesn't mean entitlement," he said sharply. "This isn't about preference. It's about respect. Ms. Johnson earned her spot here, same as anyone else. You don't get to demand something that belongs to someone else." The entire cabin grew silent, every passenger now tuned into the exchange. Some nodded approvingly, silently cheering Vin on, while others exchanged whispers speculating about what would happen next. The man fumbled for words, his face reddening under Vin's scrutiny. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he muttered a half-hearted apology and retreated to his original seat without another word. Maya exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath throughout the confrontation. Though the ordeal was over, the sting of the request lingered. She sank back into her seat, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to steady herself. The audacity of the man's request, and the casualness with which it was delivered, had shaken her deeply. It wasn't just about the seat. It was about being treated as though she didn't belong, as though her presence in this premium section was somehow negotiable. Vin lingered for a moment longer, watching to ensure the man wouldn't try anything further. When he was satisfied that the issue had been resolved, he turned to Maya. His expression softened and he gave her a small, reassuring nod. "You're good," he said quietly. "Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." His words struck a chord within her. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, not tears of sadness, but of gratitude. In that moment, Maya realized how rare it was to have someone stand up for her so boldly, especially in a public setting. Vin's intervention wasn't just about defending her seat. It was about affirming her worth, reminding her that she deserved to be exactly where she was. As Vin returned to his seat, the atmosphere in the cabin slowly returned to normal. Conversations resumed, and the hum of activity filled the air once again. Yet for Maya, The experience had left an indelible mark. She replayed the scene in her mind, analyzing every detail: the man's dismissive attitude, the flight attendant's awkward demeanor, and most importantly, Vin's unwavering support. Each element served as a reminder of the subtle yet pervasive biases that still existed in society, often manifesting in ways that were difficult to confront. Despite the lingering unease, Maya also felt a spark of empowerment. She reminded herself that she had done nothing wrong. She had earned her place in this cabin through years of hard work and perseverance. No amount of discrimination or disrespect could diminish that fact. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that moments like these highlighted the challenges Black women faced daily, challenges that went far beyond a single uncomfortable encounter on a plane. For the rest of the flight, Maya kept her composure, focusing on the positive aspects of her journey. She sipped her champagne, gazed out the window, and reflected on the resilience it took to navigate such situations gracefully. And though the incident had disrupted her peace, it had also introduced her to an unexpected ally, one whose actions would leave a lasting impact not only on her, but on countless others who would hear her story in the days to come. After ensuring that the situation with the man was resolved, Vin Diesel didn't simply retreat to his seat and fade into the background. Instead, he lingered for a moment near Maya, his expression softening as he noticed the lingering tension in her posture. He could see it in her eyes, the mix of frustration, vulnerability, and quiet strength that often accompanies moments like this. Without hesitation, he pulled up a chair from an empty neighboring seat and sat down across from her. "Are you okay?" Vin asked gently, his deep voice carrying both concern and sincerity. Maya looked up, surprised by his gesture. She hadn't expected him to stay after stepping in so boldly. For a moment she hesitated, unsure how much to share, but something about Vin's calm demeanor put her at ease. His presence wasn't intrusive, it was comforting. Slowly she nodded, though her body language betrayed the storm brewing beneath the surface. "I'm fine," she said softly, forcing a small smile. "Thank you for what you did back there. I don't think I would have known how to handle it without your help." Vin shook his head firmly. "You don't need to thank me. What happened wasn't right, and no one should have to deal with that kind of disrespect alone. Honestly, I just wish more people had spoken up sooner." His words resonated deeply with Maya. It wasn't just the incident itself that troubled her, it was the silence that followed. The lack of support from others around her made the moment feel heavier, isolating her in a way she hadn't anticipated. Yet here was Vin Diesel, a complete stranger, offering not only his intervention, but also his understanding. It was rare to find someone who truly grasped the weight of such experiences. They began talking casually at first, exchanging pleasantries about their destinations and plans. Vin mentioned he was heading to Los Angeles for meetings related to an upcoming film project, while Maya shared that she was finally taking some time off after months of relentless work. As the conversation flowed naturally, they gradually delved into deeper topics: careers, challenges, and personal growth. Vin opened up about his own journey, sharing stories from his early days in Hollywood when he faced discrimination and skepticism because of his mixed-race heritage. Back then, opportunities were scarce, and he often found himself fighting against stereotypes and low expectations. "There were times when I doubted myself," he admitted. "But those struggles taught me resilience. They showed me that success isn't just about talent. It's about perseverance and believing in yourself even when others don't." Maya listened intently, nodding along as he spoke. She couldn't help but draw parallels between his experiences and her own. Growing up as a Black woman in a predominantly white industry, she too had encountered countless obstacles. From being overlooked for promotions to having her ideas dismissed in meetings, she knew all too well what it felt like to fight for recognition and respect. Yet hearing Vin speak so candidly about his own battles gave her a renewed sense of validation. It reminded her that she wasn't alone, that many successful individuals had walked similar paths before her. Encouraged by his openness, Maya decided to share a piece of her story. She spoke about the countless instances where she had been made to feel out of place or undeserving, despite her qualifications and achievements. She recounted how exhausting it was to constantly prove herself, not just professionally but socially, as well. "It's like no matter how hard I work, there's always someone ready to question whether I belong," she confessed, her voice tinged with emotion. "And tonight? Tonight was just another reminder of that." Vin leaned forward slightly, his gaze steady and empathetic. "I hear you," he said. "And let me tell you this, you do belong. You earned this seat, this vacation, and everything else you've achieved. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. People like us, we carry burdens that others will never understand, but we also have strength they can't comprehend, and that makes us unstoppable." His words struck a chord within Maya, reigniting a spark of confidence she hadn't realized had dimmed. She smiled faintly, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Talking to Vin felt cathartic, as if she were releasing years of pent-up frustration and self-doubt. In that moment, thousands of feet above the ground, she found solace in knowing that her struggles weren't unique, and that she had the power to overcome them. As their conversation continued, they discovered shared passions for mentoring and uplifting others. Vin expressed his desire to create more opportunities for underrepresented voices in Hollywood, particularly women and people of color. Maya, inspired by his vision, shared her dream of launching a mentorship program for young Black professionals entering competitive industries. Their ideas aligned seamlessly, sparking excitement as they brainstormed potential collaborations. "You know," Vin said thoughtfully, "maybe this meeting wasn't just coincidence. Maybe it was meant to happen. We're both in positions where we can make a difference, right? Why not use our platforms to inspire change?" Maya nodded enthusiastically, feeling a surge of motivation. For the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful, not just for herself but for the future of others who might face similar challenges. The initial discomfort of the evening had transformed into something far greater, a connection that transcended chance encounters and promised meaningful impact. By the time their conversation wound down, the plane was approaching its final descent into Los Angeles. Both Maya and Vin reluctantly returned to their seats, exchanging contact information before parting ways temporarily. As Maya buckled her seatbelt, she couldn't help but reflect on the whirlwind of emotions she had experienced during the flight. What started as a stressful and dehumanizing moment had evolved into an empowering exchange, one that reminded her of her worth and ignited a newfound determination to keep pushing forward. Looking out the window at the glittering lights of Los Angeles below, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. She realized that life's most challenging moments often led to unexpected blessings, and tonight, she had been fortunate enough to find one in the form of Vin Diesel. Little did she know, their interaction would soon ripple outward, inspiring countless others and sparking conversations that extended far beyond the confines of the airplane cabin. When the plane finally touched down at Los Angeles International Airport, Maya stepped off feeling a mix of emotions. The events of the flight had left an indelible mark on her, both the unsettling confrontation and the uplifting conversation with Vin Diesel. As she made her way through the terminal, she couldn't stop thinking about how surreal the entire experience had been. By the time she reached baggage claim, she decided to share her story, not for attention, but because she felt it was important to shed light on what had happened. Sitting in a quiet corner of the airport lounge, Maya pulled out her phone and opened Instagram. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if posting about such a personal incident was the right thing to do. But then she remembered Vin's words. "We're in positions where we can make a difference." With that thought in mind, she began typing. Her post was heartfelt and honest, detailing every aspect of the encounter, the uncomfortable request from the man, Vin's intervention, and the meaningful conversation they'd shared afterward. She ended her caption with a powerful message. "Tonight reminded me of two things. First, that discrimination still exists in subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways. And second, that allies like Vin Diesel truly make a difference when they choose to speak up. Thank you, Vin, for standing with me tonight. and thank you to everyone who continues to fight against injustice. Let's keep reminding ourselves and others that we belong wherever our hard work takes us. She attached a photo of herself smiling on the plane, holding her glass of champagne, a symbol of triumph amidst adversity. Within minutes of hitting post, her phone buzzed nonstop. Notifications flooded in, likes, comments, and shares from friends, colleagues, and even strangers. Some praised her courage for speaking out, while others commended Vin for his actions. The response was overwhelming, but one comment stood out among the rest. This is exactly why representation matters. Thank you for sharing your story. It's a reminder that none of us are alone in this fight. By morning, Maya's post had gone viral. Thousands of people across the globe had seen it, and the story quickly caught the attention of major news outlets. Reporters began reaching out to her, eager to learn more about what had transpired on the flight. At first, Maya was hesitant to engage with the media. She didn't want the focus to be solely on her or to come across as seeking fame. However, after discussing it with Vin, who encouraged her to use the platform to amplify the conversation, they agreed to give interviews together. The coverage spread rapidly. Headlines like Vin Diesel stands up against discrimination on flight and Black woman's story sparks global conversation on racism dominated social media feeds and news websites. In each interview, Maya spoke candidly about the challenges Black women often face in predominantly white spaces. She emphasized that incidents like these weren't isolated. They were part of a larger pattern of systemic racism and microaggressions that marginalized communities encountered daily. Vin, too, used the opportunity to address broader issues of inequality. During one televised interview, he said, "What happened to Maya isn't just about one bad passenger or one uncomfortable situation. It's about recognizing the biases that exist in our society and actively working to dismantle them." Allyship isn't passive. It's about stepping in when you see something wrong, no matter how small it might seem. Their joint appearances resonated deeply with audiences worldwide. People were moved by their authenticity and mutual respect. Many praised Vin for using his celebrity status to highlight an issue that often goes ignored. Others expressed gratitude toward Maya for bravely sharing her experience, which inspired countless individuals to reflect on their own encounters with prejudice. As the days passed, the story took on a life of its own. Hashtags like "Our Allyship in Action" and "Idraksha We Belong Here" trended on Twitter, accompanied by stories from people who had faced similar situations. A young Black woman recounted being asked to move seats on a train because a white passenger claimed she didn't look like she belonged. A Latino man shared how he was once denied service at a restaurant until a white friend intervened. These narratives painted a stark picture of the everyday struggles faced by marginalized groups and underscored the importance of solidarity in combating discrimination. Meanwhile, the man involved in the original incident became the subject of intense scrutiny. Though his identity remained anonymous, his behavior sparked debates about privilege and entitlement. Some argued that his actions reflected a deeper societal issue, where certain individuals feel entitled to dictate space based on race or perceived superiority. Others pointed out that his apology, if it could even be called that, was insufficient and lacked genuine accountability. Amidst the backlash, Maya received messages of support from unexpected places. Influencers, activists, and public figures reached out to commend her for sparking such a crucial dialogue. One particularly touching note came from Taraji P. Henson, the acclaimed actress known for her advocacy work. "Keep shining, sis," Taraji wrote. "Your voice matters, and your story is changing lives." Despite the overwhelming positivity, Maya also faced criticism. Some accused her of exaggerating the incident for attention, while others dismissed it as a minor inconvenience unworthy of discussion. These negative comments stung, but Maya refused to let them overshadow the progress being made. She reminded herself that change rarely came without resistance, and that staying focused on the bigger picture was key. For Vin, the experience reinforced his commitment to using his platform for good. He announced plans to partner with organizations dedicated to fighting racial injustice, pledging a portion of his earnings from upcoming projects to support their initiatives. He also urged his millions of followers to educate themselves on systemic racism and become active allies in dismantling it. As the whirlwind of attention continued, Maya found herself reflecting on the ripple effect of that single night. What had started as a disheartening moment on a plane had transformed into a global movement, one that challenged biases, celebrated resilience, and highlighted the power of allyship. For the first time in years, she felt hopeful, not just for herself but for the generations to come. The world was listening, and perhaps, slowly but surely, it was beginning to change. Yet even as the spotlight shone brightly, Maya knew that the real work lay ahead. Conversations needed to translate into action, awareness into policy changes, and empathy into tangible support. With Vin by her side and a growing community rallying behind her, she felt ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. After all, the journey was far from over, but for now she allowed herself to savor the victory of turning pain into purpose. In the weeks following the viral incident, Maya and Vin stayed in touch. What began as a chance encounter on a flight quickly blossomed into a genuine friendship built on mutual respect, shared values, and a desire to create meaningful change. Their bond wasn't just about the dramatic events of that night. It was rooted in their commitment to uplifting others who faced similar challenges. Both recognized that their collaboration could inspire action beyond hashtags and headlines. Their first meeting after the flight took place at a cozy cafe in Los Angeles. Maya arrived early, clutching her notebook filled with ideas for initiatives they had discussed briefly during their initial conversation. When Vin walked in, his larger-than-life presence immediately drew attention from other patrons, but he greeted Maya warmly, pulling up a chair without any pretense. They ordered coffee and dove straight into brainstorming ways to use their platforms effectively. "We need to focus on mentorship," Maya said earnestly, leaning forward. "Young Black professionals often struggle to find guidance in industries dominated by people who don't look like them. If we can provide resources and support, it could make such a difference." Vin nodded thoughtfully, sipping his espresso. "I agree. Mentorship is powerful because it's personal. It shows people they're not alone. But let's think bigger. How about creating something tangible? Maybe workshops or even scholarships?" The idea sparked excitement between them. Over the next hour, they sketched out plans for what would eventually become Rise Together, a joint initiative aimed at empowering underrepresented voices in various fields. The program would include virtual workshops led by industry leaders, networking, opportunities for young professionals, and financial aid for students pursuing careers in competitive industries. It was ambitious, but both Maya and Vin were determined to see it through. As word spread about their partnership, interest poured in from all corners. Influencers, corporations, and nonprofits reached out, eager to contribute. Some offered funding, while others volunteered their expertise to help bring the project to life. Maya marveled at how quickly everything fell into place, crediting Vin's influence and her own determination to turn passion into action. The launch event for Rise Together was held in downtown Los Angeles, drawing hundreds of attendees, students, aspiring entrepreneurs, activists, and allies alike. The venue buzzed with energy as speakers took the stage to share stories of overcoming adversity and breaking barriers. Maya delivered an opening speech that brought many to tears. She spoke candidly about her experience on the plane, emphasizing that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, but learning to rise above it. "Every challenge we face has the potential to teach us something valuable," she told the audience. "But none of us should have to face those challenges alone. That's why programs like this are so important. They remind us that there's strength in community." When it was Vin's turn to speak, he echoed Maya's sentiments, adding his unique perspective as someone who had navigated Hollywood's notoriously exclusive landscape. "Success doesn't mean anything if you're not using it to lift others up," he declared passionately. "We owe it to the next generation to clear the path for them, to show them that their dreams are valid no matter where they come from." The crowd erupted in applause, moved by his sincerity and conviction. By the end of the evening, donations poured in, ensuring the sustainability of the program for years to come. For Maya, seeing the tangible impact of their efforts reinforced her belief in the power of collective action, she realized that moments like these, the ones born out of pain and perseverance, had the potential to spark real transformation. Beyond the professional collaboration, Maya and Vin's friendship continued to grow. They found common ground in their love for storytelling, whether through film, marketing campaigns, or social advocacy. They spent hours discussing books, movies, and cultural movements that inspired them, exchanging recommendations and debating ideas late into the night. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, one a global superstar, the other a dedicated executive, they connected on a deeply human level. One memorable evening, they attended a private screening of one of Vin's latest films. Afterward, Maya approached him with a thoughtful critique, pointing out subtle nuances in the script that resonated with her experiences as a Black woman navigating predominantly white spaces. Vin listened intently, appreciating her insight and promising to incorporate more diverse perspectives into future projects. These exchanges highlighted the beauty of their dynamic, two individuals constantly learning from each other, pushing boundaries and challenging norms. Yet amidst the whirlwind of success, Maya occasionally reflected on the quieter moments that defined their relationship. There were times when they simply sat together, sharing laughter over silly jokes or commiserating about the pressures of public life. In those moments, she felt grateful, not just for Vin's allyship, but for the genuine connection they had forged. He wasn't just a celebrity lending his name to a cause. He was a friend who truly understood the weight of what she carried and stood beside her every step of the way. For Vin, the experience was equally transformative. Working alongside, Maya reminded him of the importance of staying grounded and connected to grassroots movements. While he had always been vocal about social issues, collaborating with someone like Maya, a woman whose daily reality mirrored the struggles they sought to address, deepened his understanding of systemic inequality. He admired her tenacity, her ability to channel pain into purpose, and her unwavering optimism despite the odds stacked against her. As months turned into a year, Rise Together flourished. The workshops became a cornerstone of the program, attracting participants from across the globe. Stories of success began pouring in, young professionals landing dream jobs, students securing scholarships, and mentors forming lifelong bonds with their mentees. Each achievement served as a testament to the ripple effect of allyship and solidarity. Maya often received messages from participants expressing gratitude for the opportunities the program had provided. One particularly touching note came from a young Black woman named Tasha, who wrote, "Before I joined Rise Together, I doubted whether my voice mattered. I felt invisible in meetings and dismissed in interviews. But thanks to your mentorship program, I found my confidence again. I recently accepted a position at a top advertising agency, and I owe it all to people like you and Vin who believed in me when no one else did. Thank you for showing me that I belong." Reading Tasha's words brought tears to Maya's eyes. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had chosen to share her story in the first place. Change wasn't always immediate or grandiose. It often came in small, quiet victories that added up over time. Meanwhile, Vin continued to leverage his platform to amplify marginalized voices. He partnered with filmmakers from underrepresented communities, producing content that challenged stereotypes and celebrated diversity. His commitment to authenticity earned him praise from critics and audiences alike, proving that entertainment could be both impactful and inclusive. Through it all, Maya and Vin remained steadfast in their mission. They knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would still be resistance, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But they also knew they weren't walking it alone. Together they had created something extraordinary, a legacy of empowerment, unity, and hope. Looking back on the journey, Maya couldn't help but smile. That fateful flight had started as a moment of discomfort, yet it had transformed into a catalyst for change. It taught her that even in the darkest times, unexpected allies could emerge, turning pain into purpose and strangers into lifelong friends. And as she stood side by side with Vin Diesel, championing causes greater than themselves, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that their efforts were shaping a brighter, more equitable future for generations to come. Months turned into years, and the impact of Maya and Vin's collaboration continued to grow. What had started as a single act of allyship on a plane had evolved into a movement that touched countless lives. Their partnership became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to step up and create change in their own communities. The ripple effect of their actions stretched far beyond what either of them could have imagined. Rise Together wasn't just a program anymore. It was a global phenomenon. The workshops expanded internationally, with chapters opening in cities like London, Johannesburg, and Sydney. Each location adapted the program to address the unique challenges faced by local communities, ensuring its relevance and effectiveness. Participants from diverse backgrounds came together to learn, share, and support one another, forming networks that transcended borders and cultures. For Maya, seeing the program thrive brought immense pride. She often reflected on how far she had come since that uncomfortable night on the plane. Back then, she had felt small and powerless, questioning whether she truly belonged in spaces dominated by privilege. Now, she stood at the forefront of an initiative that empowered others to claim their rightful places in the world. Her journey, from doubt to confidence, served as living proof that resilience and determination could overcome even the toughest obstacles. One of the most rewarding aspects of Rise Together was witnessing the success stories of its participants. Tasha, the young woman who had written to Maya about landing her dream job, went on to become a mentor herself, guiding others through the same struggles she once faced. Another participant, Jamal, a first-generation college graduate from Chicago, used the skills he learned in the program to launch his own tech startup, a company now valued at millions. These achievements weren't just individual victories, they were testaments to the power of collective effort and belief. Vin, too, found fulfillment in the work they were doing. While his career remained as busy as ever, he made time to stay involved with Rise Together. He traveled to different cities to speak at events, meet participants, and hear their stories firsthand. His presence never failed to energize audiences, especially when he shared anecdotes from his own life, how he overcame discrimination early in his career, and how moments like the one on the plane reinforced his commitment to fighting injustice. But it wasn't just the big milestones that mattered. It was the little things, the quiet conversations backstage after events, the heartfelt messages from strangers saying thank you, the knowing smiles exchanged between allies who understood the weight of what they were building together. These moments reminded both Maya and Vin why they had started this journey in the first place. Their friendship deepened over time, becoming a source of strength for both of them. They celebrated each other's successes, supported each other during tough times, and continued to push boundaries in their respective fields. When Maya published her memoir, Claiming My Seat, detailing her experiences with racism, resilience, and empowerment, Vin wrote the foreword. In it, he described her as a force of nature whose courage inspires us all to be better versions of ourselves. The book became a bestseller, further amplifying Maya's voice and spreading the message of allyship and self-worth. Readers from around the world reached out to share how her story resonated with them, many saying it gave them the courage to confront their own struggles head-on. For Maya, this validation meant everything. Writing the book had been cathartic, but seeing its impact was transformative. Meanwhile, Vin's advocacy extended beyond Rise Together. He partnered with organizations focused on criminal justice reform, education equity, and environmental sustainability. He also used his films as platforms to highlight underrepresented voices, casting actors from marginalized communities and telling stories that challenge stereotypes. Critics praised him not only for his performances but also for his dedication to using art as a tool for social change. Despite their growing influence, Maya and Vin remained grounded. They never lost sight of the fact that their work was bigger than themselves. Every decision they made, from expanding Rise Together to choosing projects that aligned with their values, was guided by a shared vision. A world where everyone, regardless of race, gender, or background, had an equal opportunity to succeed. Of course, there were still challenges along the way. Not everyone agreed with their methods or supported their causes. Some accused them of virtue signaling, while others dismissed their efforts as performative activism. But Maya and Vin refused to let negativity derail their mission. Instead, they leaned on each other and their community, drawing strength from the progress they saw every day. One particularly memorable moment occurred during a fundraising gala for Rise Together. As Maya stood on stage delivering her speech, she noticed a young girl sitting in the front row, staring up at her with wide eyes. After the event, the girl approached Maya shyly, clutching a notebook filled with sketches and ideas. "I want to be like you when I grow up," the girl whispered. "You make me believe I can do anything." Tears welled up in Maya's eyes as she knelt down to talk to the girl. "You already have everything you need inside you," she said gently. "Just keep believing in yourself and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." It was moments like these that reminded Maya and Vin of the importance of representation. Seeing themselves reflected in leaders and role models inspired people to dream bigger and aim higher. By standing together and supporting one another, they were breaking down barriers not just for themselves but for future generations. As the years passed, their legacy only grew stronger. Schools began teaching lessons based on Rise Together's principles, emphasizing the value of diversity, inclusion, and allyship. Corporations adopted similar mentorship programs, recognizing the benefits of fostering talent from all walks of life. Even governments took notice, implementing policies aimed at creating more equitable opportunities for marginalized communities. Through it all, Maya and Vin stayed true to their roots. They remained humble, acknowledging that their success was built on the shoulders of those who had fought before them. They honored the pioneers of civil rights movements, the unsung heroes working tirelessly in grassroots organizations, and the everyday individuals who dared to challenge inequality in their own ways. Looking back on their journey, Maya often thought about the randomness of fate. If she hadn't been upgraded to business class that night, if Vin hadn't intervened, if she hadn't chosen to share her story, none of this might have happened. Yet, she knew that luck played only a small part. It was their willingness to act, to stand up, speak out, and collaborate that truly made the difference. For Vin, the experience reaffirmed his belief in the power of connection. Whether it was mentoring someone, advocating for systemic change, or simply lending a listening ear, he realized that every interaction mattered. Small acts of kindness and solidarity could snowball into something extraordinary, given the right circumstances and intentions. In the end, their story wasn't just about two people coming together to fight injustice. It was about the countless lives they touched along the way, the dreams they ignited, the barriers they broke, and the hope they spread. It was a reminder that change begins with a single step, and sometimes that step is taken by unlikely allies in unexpected places. As Maya and Vin stood side by side at yet another Rise Together event, surrounded by cheering crowds and glowing faces, they exchanged a glance that said more than words ever could. They had started as strangers brought together by circumstance, but they had become partners in purpose. Two individuals united by a shared vision of a better, fairer world. And though the road ahead would always hold challenges, they faced it with unwavering optimism, because they knew no matter what happened next, they had already changed the world, and that was something no one could take away.